I've been at Hofstra since 1987, and my doctorate is in organizational behavior, and I've always been interested in individuals within organizations. There's a saying in organization, I'm going to botch this, I'm sure, but something about be careful about the toes you're stepping on the way up, because they might turn around and do the same thing to you. But, you know, Lord Acton, I think, was the one who said power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we talk about this in my management classes about power. There are some people who, when they're put in a position of power, they're given the opportunity for their true colors to come out, and whatever little evil parts of their personality were being hidden and didn't have the opportunity to blossom, they now have the opportunity. But I've happily seen some people assume positions of power and stay exactly the same. They don't turn into these raging autocrats. They stay the same. They're really good. So I think power gives people who didn't have the opportunity to become obnoxious and autocratic and pull power plays, literally. But it doesn't have to be. It's not the case that here you are a good person and here you are in a situation and oops, turn on the switch, you're now evil. So it's not necessarily the case that power is going to make someone terrible. It's going to give them the opportunity if they are so inclined to be that way. If the economy is decent enough and it's really unbearable, then people can leave. And a colleague was just sharing some research that even in this economy, the number one reason why people leave their jobs is their bosses. And people read about these studies, and people get national funding to do studies, and the research result is the number one reason people can't stand their job is their boss. And anyone on the street will tell you, of course, why did you have to do a study? It's really, really true that your boss can make or break how you feel about your organization and your job. Moral courage is about doing the right thing. And since I've been teaching business ethics, and we were supposed to insert little bits of it in our classes, so I've been doing some research on it since the 90s. I've been teaching it, I've been incorporating it into my management class for a long time, but I began teaching business ethics as an entire course in about 2003. Yeah, it was 2003. And so I was reading, and most of the people who teach business ethics, or I should say most business ethics courses, spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus on moral philosophical frameworks. And it's really great for students to be able to develop the critical thinking skills that you need when you're applying utilitarianism and deontology. But even if students don't know those labels, they're still doing that. Someone who's in college or graduate school is, okay, well, what's going to happen if I do this? What are the consequences, and whose rights are violated? Most people reason in those ways, even if they don't know the formal name for the terms. So I thought the big story that a lot of people aren't looking at is, why is there such a discrepancy between being able to know the right thing and being able to do the right thing? And people would joke, oh, Johnny gets an A in business ethics and then goes and commits multi-thousand-dollar fraud. So the big story to me was the discrepancy between moral judgment and moral behavior. And so I started reading, and it wasn't anything new that moral courage was really the answer. A lot of people have the awareness to know, okay, I'm in a situation where I have to think of the implications for others, and then they can reason through and know what the right thing is to do. And most of those people will still have the moral intention to do the right thing, but then you lose a lot of people between wanting to do the right thing and actually doing it, because pressures in organizations make it harder to do the right thing. And sometimes, the other way of looking at it, they make it easy to do the wrong thing. A boss or peers who tell you flat out or hint less directly that, you really should do this, you really should do that. And so a lot of people still want to do the right thing, but don't, because of organizational pressures. And as the economy is worse and worse and worse, and sticking up and taking a stand means that you're going to have to possibly face the consequence of losing your job, it's harder and harder.